Hi kids, welcome to Miss Nancy's Bible College for Kids. Today's lesson is called A Coat of Many Colors. Dolly Parton's mom made her one, but this might have been where she got the idea, and I love thinking on things like that. But it's in the Old Testament in the book of Genesis, and we're talking about Jacob, who is called Israel. The Lord changes his name. So if I say Jacob or Israel, it's the dad. We're going to talk about some of his sons in chapter 37 of Genesis. Joseph was 17 years old and was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah. And this is his father's wives, so he's half-brother. And Joseph brought unto the father their evil report. Now Israel, Jacob, loved Joseph more than any or all of his children, because, here's why, he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we are binding sheaves. That's like long pieces of grain, maybe tied together, but they're binding them some way. Maybe with string, I don't know. But my sheaf arose and also stood upright, just like this. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheep. That means respect or honor. So they might have bowed. I think later on in the story it says something about that, but we'll go on. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him even the more for his dreams and for his words. I often wonder, Nosy Nancy, what would have happened if Joseph hadn't told his brothers the dreams that he was having. But here's what happened next. Joseph, he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brother indeed come to bow down themselves? There's where it comes in. To thee, to the earth? He just can't believe this dream. But now, remember before, the boys, the brothers, hated him. But his brethren envied him. But his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem, and Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock at Shechem? Come, and I will send them to them. And he said, Here I am. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brother and with the flocks, and bring me word again. He's saying, Go check up on him and come back and tell me how everything's going. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in a field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, the dreamer come. Come now. So that was the plot. Here's what we're going to do. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him. There's the plan that goes with this plot. And cast him into a pit. And we will say, Some evil beast. Now here's their evil surmising. Some evil beast hath devoured him. We shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben, now this is the oldest son, Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, here's the next part of the plan. Shed no blood, but cast him into the pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him of their hands to deliver him to his father again. So Reuben had it in his heart. He thinks, they're going to get over it, and I'll get him out of here and take him back to Dad. But anyway, and it came to pass, when Joseph was coming to his brethren, that they stripped Joseph of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, and there was no water in it. So then they sat down to have a picnic. They sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, now here's Judah. He's all about the money. He acts like he's very broken up because why should we do this? But anyway, Miss Nancy's getting ahead of herself again. And Judah said to his brethren, what profiteth if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, here comes plan C or plan 3. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brothers were content, or brethren, I'm sorry. So that was the pretense, and that was the price. So let's see how much he goes for. Then there passed by Midianite merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben, returned into the pit, remember this is the oldest brother, and Reuben returned into the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. And he rent his clothes, that means he tore them apart. And he returned unto his brother, and he said, the child is not, and whither shall I go? It wasn't really that Reuben was concerned about Joseph. He was thinking, what am I going to do? I'm going to get in trouble. That's Miss Nancy's interpretation, not KJV. Sorry about that. But here's the premeditation. And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats. So a baby had to die. Blood had to be shed over this sin. And dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors. And they brought it to their father and said, this have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it and said, of course he knew it. He'd made it with his own hands out of love. But anyway, he knew it and said, it is my son's coat. And an evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without a doubt rent in pieces. He thought the same thing that they thought up to tell him. I thought that was fascinating. And Jacob rent his clothes, that's the dad, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all of his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, for I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. Man, Joseph had an exciting life. I'm sure it ain't exactly what he thought would happen, but I hope we get back and do the rest of this story soon. I'm not going to commit to it. I love the whole plot and plan about Joseph. And what Miss Nancy wants to share with you kids is Joseph is one of the best, if not the best type of the Lord, representing like Jesus in the Old Testament at least, but maybe in the whole Bible. We won't get into that today, but now let's see if you guys really listen. What was the name of Jacob's 17-year-old son? Joseph, the one that this story is about. Why did Jacob, or Israel, one and the same, love Joseph more than all of his boys? because he was a son in his old age. So what did Jacob or Israel do for Joseph? He made him a coat of many colors. How did his brothers feel about that? They despised him. They actually hated him because, why? They knew that their father loved him more than any of them. But what did Joseph tell his brothers? He told them about a dream he'd had. Then how did that make them feel? Worse than ever. They despised him and hated him even more. But what was the dream about? The first one. There was two dreams. We were binding sheaves in the field, Joseph told him. And my sheaf, it stood straight up. And your guys's, they bowed to it. That's not his words, but he said they gave obeisance to it. And they looked at him, and what did they ask him? Do you think you're going to reign over all of us? You're the young one. More or less, making fun of him. But how did it make him feel? They hated him even greater. What was the second dream? He said this time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars, and he's the other star, I'll just tell you that, is making obeisance to his sheaf. They bowed down to him. That time it does say it, so Miss Nancy feels like that's okay to say. But they bowed down to him, showing their reverence, more or less, to him. And what did his dad say about this? He said, are you telling me your mother and I and your brothers are all going to bow down and worship you? Or reverence you? Maybe not worship, that's a bad word. Reverence you? But he kept it to him. But now, what about the boys? How did they feel after this dream? They envied him this time, didn't they? But anyway, when Joseph's brothers went to Shechem, what did Jacob send him to do? To check on them, see how they was doing, and come back and tell him. Did he find them there in Shechem? No. They went to where? Dothan. And how did Joseph find out this? He was wandering around the field looking for him and met a man. And the man said, oh, I overheard him. They're in Dothan. So he went there to find him. But when his brothers saw him coming, what did they do? They started plotting and planning. And I can just hear them now, all of them. Here comes that dreamer. Yeah, he's probably coming to tell us another dream. Wonder what this will be. Things like that. People are cruel sometimes. But anyway, when he got there, what did they do with him? They stripped off that coat of many colors, and they put him where? Threw him in a pit. What was the pit like? It had no water, so at least it was dry. Think about that. And anyway, so who heard it and got upset? Which brother? I'll say that. Reuben. He was the oldest one. So what did he plot? He said, let's don't kill him. Let's just put him in that pit, and we'll take care of it in the wilderness. And what was his plan? He had planned to go back and get him. He didn't want no bloodshed. He would have returned him. I believe if it would have ended there, I believe Reuben would have took him back to his father sooner or later. Reuben had sons of his own, and we'll find that out later. But anyway, so then one of the other brothers, what was his name, decided, no, we better not kill him. Let's just sell him. His name was Judah. Imagine that, close to Judas. But what was his plan? We'll sell him. And how much did they get for him? 20 pieces of silver. They sold him to the Ishmaelites. But anyway, what kind of animals did they see when they saw the Ishmaelites bearing all the burdens? Camels. I love that. I love camels in the Bible. I love all the animals in the Bible. God uses many of them. But anyway, they come bearing spices and balm and different things. And anyway, so then what did they do to poor Joseph? They pulled him out of the pit and sold him so he could go on to Egypt, didn't they? But then, when they had to make up something to tell their father, what did they do? They took that coat of many colors, and because of their sin, what did they have to do? They killed a little baby goat, shed that blood, and then what did they do? They dipped that coat of many colors in that blood, and they went home to tell their father the bad news. How did they present it when they got there? They said, Dad, we found this coat. Do you know if this is a coat that you made for Joseph? We're just wondering. And how did Joseph respond? Jacob, I'm sorry. Jacob said, "This is my son's coat." And he ripped his clothes and he put on sackcloth and ashes. That means he was mourning. And who tried to comfort him? All of his sons and all of his daughters. How did that work? It didn't, did it? He said, "I'll go to my grave mourning my son." So they all paid a price that day. I'm sure that they saw the sadness, and maybe at least half of them boys was sorry for what they done. But this ain't all of Joseph's story. He got sold to Potiphar, who was a servant of Pharaoh, and he was a captain of the guard. He has more to play in Joseph's life later on. But guys, I hope you love this story about the coat of many colors. And I want you to think, Jesus loved us enough. Miss Nancy can't get off here without telling you the gospel. That he came and died on that cross for us, according to the scriptures, the Bible. And he was buried and rose again the third day, according to the scriptures. He was seen of over 500 people over 40 days. They saw him, they touched him, they ate with him. It's proven that he was here. People still have a choice. But guys, go tell the world. We're the light of the world. They need to get saved, because if they don't, it's going to be a bad situation. See you guys next time. Bye, kids.